last time I was here was 2 years ago, and it was like this many people, which is also the time that I met my co-founder was at one of these events. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. They work. These events work. Is there anyone here who's a co-founder looking for another co-founder? There's hope. There's one in the back. Awesome. So today's presentation, I kind of want to talk about stuff that I guess was information that I found, or I would have found very valuable when I was first starting a company. I think there's a lot of people here that are in the phase of starting their company, or they're a few years in. How many founders or startup founders do we have in the room? Quite a few. Any of you under 1 year, around 1 year? Sweet, awesome. So if you're in the 1 to 2 year range, hopefully this is quite relevant for you. Or if you're thinking about starting a company, hopefully this is relevant for you as well. A bit of background about me. I went to McMaster. I went to KPMG, worked there for a bit. As Alex said, I was voted the most likely to leave and start a company. That award was actually called the Donald Trump Award, which back then didn't have too much relevance, but now we don't talk about it. So we started Casalova. It's a real estate marketplace where you can search for homes, rentals. You can buy them online. We also became the first platform in Canada to launch pre-construction sales completely online. We most recently just closed a $2.7 million investment. We are hiring. I'll talk about that after. But what I really want to talk about, if we jump to the slide here, is the mental game of entrepreneurship. And the reason I call it a game is because I don't think you can take it too seriously. And what I mean by that is if you take it too seriously, you might go crazy. And the problem with being crazy is that it's a little hard to run a company when you're crazy. So I'll talk a bit about the journey, and then I'll kind of go into the lessons learned, and hopefully some of this stuff is relevant to you guys. So like I said, I went to McMaster. I did an accounting and finance degree. My professor, my first year accounting professor, said that accounting is the language of business. I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to speak business, so I've specialized in that. I worked at KPMG, and when I started working at KPMG, has anyone here like ever hated their life? Yeah? Okay, that was me at KPMG. Was not a huge fan of what I was doing, but you know, the really valuable lesson that I learned from KPMG was actually I was specializing in private real estate, and I was working with entrepreneurs who had built companies up to $50 million, $100 million, $500 million in value. And what that allowed me to do, the experience that it gave me at KPMG, was it allowed me to meet these people who had started these companies to become extremely successful. And before that point, you know, I thought I needed to have like all this experience, all these designations and everything in order to start a company. But when I started talking to these people, it kind of brought down this aura, this person who had started this company is now making $100 million. It kind of brought them off a pedestal and made it more real. And you know, I learned a lot of lessons there about people who started companies and made them successful. They weren't necessarily the most educated, had the most experience. There were people who essentially had an idea, they had a plan, and they executed. And I think where most people stop is after the idea. A lot of people talk about ideas, but they never plan and they never execute on it. So what I started doing at KPMG was I started working on the idea. And that's when I met Curtis, and it was true love at first sight. Is that how it goes? True love? I don't know. Anyways, he's in the back wearing the stereotypical engineer hoodie. True to it. We started working on it. He was working at Amazon, and we would just work every night from 6 p.m. till 2 a.m. Until we eventually decided to quit. And what I did was first, I took a 6-month leave of absence from KPMG to try to work on it. And when I took that leave of absence, on the 6th day of the leave of absence, I actually went back to KPMG and I gave my full resignation. And what I realized was, if you're trying to work on a company or a startup, it really has to be everything that you're doing. Otherwise, it just doesn't take off. You start slacking at work and the company never takes off. So I didn't want a plan B. We just went fully all in with it. Curtis quit his job, and we had 6 months of runway. About, on our last $200 of, building this company, we had barely any money left in the bank. That's when OCE Smart Start came through. So shout out OCE. If you guys haven't applied for that, it's a great fund. They give you $35,000. Then we got an investment. We moved to Dallas. We sold everything. And then we came back and applied to the DMZ. DMZ is absolutely incredible. Anyone here in the DMZ? Okay, a few companies, yeah. If you guys are interested in DMZ, Shane, Jen, and Danielle are in the back. Talk to them. Really amazing program. And then the next step, you see the question mark, and then profit. So I know you're wondering, how do we get past the question marks to profit? Yeah, we're still wondering. So next step, what happened here is I kind of want to talk about some of the lessons. There's an interesting article by Randy Zuckerberg, who's the sister of Mark Zuckerberg, and she gives this example where you essentially have 5 things, and work, family, friends, fitness, and sleep. These are the things that take up your time. And what she says is choose 3. You can only choose 3 if you start a company. Anyone want to share their 3 right off the top? Alex? Okay, he says work, family, and fitness. Okay, no friends, no sleep. All right. The ones that I chose were work, sleep, and more sleep. No, but actually, so I think that example that she gave is pretty extreme. I don't think it's necessarily about choosing 3 and then just letting the other 2 go away. A better way to look at this example is really to think of them as plants. And your time is the water. And so you get to decide how much water you want to put into each. And I think that's a really good way to kind of think about the work-life balance, but it's really important to be realistic. If you're looking to start a company or even working at a startup, some of those plants are just not going to grow the way you want them to grow, and you have to be comfortable with that. You don't have a giant jug of water. What you really have is like a shitty bottle of Dasani water. It's not even good. It's not even like Fiji water or something. It's Dasani. So you got to decide where you're putting that time. Really, really important to be upfront and honest with what you're about to do and understand the sacrifices that you're about to make. So I think I've chosen what mine were. It becomes very, very difficult to maintain friends. I don't have many friends. It becomes very difficult to maintain relationships. I had to break up with my girlfriend. True story. Very sad. I'm still sad about it. Not really. I've moved on. The next thing is, when you're thinking about putting this water and planting these seeds, I think there's a really good story about how the Chinese bamboo tree works. And if any of you guys know about the Chinese bamboo tree, it's a really interesting plant that takes a really, really, really long time to grow. It's a seed that you plant in the ground, and you have to water it every day. And if you miss watering it just one day, it actually dies in the ground. And now you might think, how long does it take? A month, a year? No, it takes 5 years for the Chinese bamboo tree, when you're watering it, to finally break into the ground and start to grow. If you miss watering for any one of those days, the seed dies in the ground. Now, during that 5th year, when that seed breaks through the ground, you've been watering it every day, the Chinese bamboo tree actually grows 90 feet in just 5 weeks, which is pretty interesting, because then it kind of begs the question is, did this Chinese bamboo tree grow 90 feet in 5 weeks or 5 years? And the answer is that it actually grew 90 feet in 5 years. Even though you weren't seeing it grow, that was absolutely necessary for that growth to happen in the 5th year. And that's what starting a company kind of feels like. It feels like every day you're watering it, you're not really seeing much. You're seeing your friends do other things. You're reading TechCrunch and someone raised $3 billion and you're wondering why not me. And it's really important to kind of just stay focused and persevere and have the patience and the positivity in what you're doing. So I think I'm getting the time's up sign. So I'll just jump into, these are bamboo trees. That's you walking the pathway of more success with your mom. These are some valuable resources. I know I'm out of time. I think this is really, really important. Some apps that I use. Headspace is great. Anyone here use Headspace? Yeah, it's like a meditation app. It helps you not go crazy. It's really, really good. Blinkist is really good. It's like stories. They cut them down to like books. They summarize them into like 20 minutes. And if you like it, then you can jump to Audible, which is great. Some books there to read, really, really important. I know I'm out of time. And then things to stop doing. Stop browsing Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. It really is, it's all useless. Stop comparing yourself to other startups, other companies. Stop browsing TechCrunch. Just kind of focus on your business. Startups don't die because of competition. They don't die because of other external factors. It's always internal. So just kind of focus on that. So I'll end it there. We are hiring 3 engineers, 1 designer, 1 marketing, 1 finance. Please see us after if you're interested. Thank you so much.
Two questions, not at the same time.
Yes.
First off, I'd like to acknowledge you. I thought that was incredible. You're so passionate and driven, and I think you gave a great talk.
Thank you.
My question is, how much money did you save up, and what was your lifestyle like when you quit your job and just put your heart and soul into this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Curtis was at Amazon. I was at KPMG. We were super yuppie corporate people. We both lived in condos downtown and stuff, just kind of living that life. But there's obviously huge sacrifices that you have to make. We ended up kind of selling everything, just kind of coming down to the bare minimum burn rate. Like I said, we gave ourselves 6 months to start to see how long we could go. And I think we had just enough money for 6 months to last. And then when we got that OCE funding, we had about $200 in the bank. And then that 35K came through. So, huge sacrifices. You can't really go out. People ask you to come out for dinner, party, whatever. None of that is reality when you're first starting a company.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Question?
Thank you. Yeah, just to piggyback off what she said, great presentation. And I like that you touched on the time it takes and to kind of ride the storm all the way through. Was there ever a point where you thought, I don't think I'm going to make it? Did you ever hit that low point?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've never had a nervous breakdown, but I've been very, very close. I think what kind of kept us going was really the problem that we were trying to solve. And for me, in my mind, I thought what we were building was inevitable. I.e., if we didn't do it, it would eventually become a thing. And that kind of kept driving us to get there. We pivoted so many times, especially on our business model. We're building a marketplace. So it really kind of came down to the monetization strategy. So there's a lot of times, a lot of dark days, especially in the first year to 2 years. But it was just kind of the belief in what we were doing, which kind of stems back to a point of not working on something that you're not genuinely passionate about. And when we first started, I remember when Curtis and I went for coffee after meeting at one of these events. It was very romantic. We had coffees and non-disclosure agreements. And you're very secretive about your idea. You're like, oh, I don't want anyone to take this. And then working on the company for 4 or 5 months, I was no longer worried about telling people about the idea because I realized how hard it is to actually get something off the ground. It's not about the idea at all. It's really about the execution. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
If you want more questions.
Good question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, how do you compare to Zillow?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Zillow is a company in the US. They're mainly an advertising platform. So you could compare them to a realtor.ca in Canada. So the way we're different is we're actually a fully end-to-end marketplace. So what that means is you not only find the property on our site, which is where the experience ends on Zillow, but you can also schedule the viewings, book properties online, make the payments and offers all through the platform, even getting pre-approvals for mortgage. The idea is that the real estate transaction going from A to B, i.e. I want to move from here to there, it's one transaction. And the way it currently works is you're using like 7 different platforms to get it done. And that's kind of what Zillow is. It's an advertising platform, i.e. a more fancy Kijiji of the US. I know you were looking to invest, so yeah, talk about that.